This is Rebel Mom Boss. My name's Robyn Flynn. I am joined by one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, my cousin, Melanie Belanger. She's a tattoo artist, she's a mom, and she's awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here and to chat with you about so many things.
Yeah.
So I want to start with motherhood, because that is this podcast. So you're a mom of two.
Yeah.
And I always tell everybody, like, you're my beacon of motherhood.
Aww.
Like, I always try and emulate a lot of what you do with your kids, because I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Oh my God.
And I had never even heard of the term gentle parenting or rye parenting or respectful parenting until you started talking about it on Facebook. So, why did you feel yourself gravitating in that direction when you became a mom?
So it actually happened before while I was pregnant, actually. I, totally by chance stumbled on, I was, looking up things for, the birth of my son. So he's 6. He's my first. I have a daughter who's turning 4 in October. And I was looking up, breathing exercises for when I was in labor. And I stumbled on the Mellow Mama. She's one of my favorite people ever. It was one of her videos on breathing, and then I started watching her other videos, and I discovered rye parenting. So it's rye stands for research for infant educators. So I'm not going to go into the background of that. It's
sure.
pretty intense, but that if you want to look it up, that's what it stands for. And yeah, basically it's gentle parenting, and yeah, just being that safe space and doing it, but mind you, there are a lot of misconceptions.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. When I tell people we're gentle parenting with my daughter, Peyton, they roll their eyes.
100%.
Oh, you're going to let her walk all over you. You don't discipline her.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people confuse gentle parenting with permissive parenting.
100%.
Right? Permissive parenting is just never saying no, basically.
Yeah.
But with
Letting
gentle
them do what they
parenting, there are consequences and boundaries, right? They just are reasonable.
Natural consequences, something related to what's going on. Not oh, you're not putting your shoes on, we can't have dessert tonight.
Because those make no sense.
That makes no sense. And
and doesn't exist in life. No. There are no consequences like that for actions.
Exactly. It's just not realistic. And I'm still learning about it. And I was watching this amazing podcast. I forget her name, but she's an amazing parenting coach. And she was saying a lot of us confuse boundaries for a request. So it's if you tell your kid stop jumping on the couch, that's a request. You're requesting that they do that. A boundary would be stop jumping on the couch. I'm going to give you one more chance to stop jumping on the couch. If not, I'm going to come help you. That's a boundary.
Yep.
So that's a good example that I use to explain what holding a boundary is versus you're requesting, oh, they're not listening. It's they can't listen. They're 3 or 4 or whatever.
Exactly. Well, it's developmentally appropriate for little kids to test those limits, right?
100%.
And to see what happens. I have a friend who's a scientist, and she's like, babies are little scientists. Everything they do is an experiment.
Yeah. How are you going to react when I do this? How much? And it's all to test how much basically you love them, and will you be there for them? Even if I'm at my worst, will you still love me?
Exactly.
Obviously, subconsciously, but yeah.
And they're driven by their id. They have no self-control. They want to do what they want to do, and they want to do it now.
Exactly. Impulse control only develops, I think when, around 4. Before that, they literally cannot control their impulses. Your 2-year-old isn't, not listening to you because he doesn't want to. It's because he can't.
I do think part of the backlash against it, and tell me how you feel about this, I had this conversation on Threads with someone recently. They were upset, at a restaurant, there was kids running around and being loud, and I was like, but you'd be mad if they were on their iPads because they're little zombies, you can't win.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think people who get upset at kids for being kids are jealous because they weren't given permission to be kids when they were kids.
That's a great way to look at it.
So our parents wanted us to be seen and not heard. I don't know about you, but I was sent to the basement a lot. It was go downstairs and play with your siblings or go in the backyard. Go
we were
away.
often just playing off. My parents are amazing, obviously, but we were on our own. We played together. I'm lucky. We both have siblings, so in that aspect, it was go play and okay, we would do activities and stuff together. But my mom would bake with us and but it was mostly just now it's not structured. Sorry, it's not structured activity as much as it is now.
Yeah, and our kids are always with us. This concept of living room kids, when we were kids, we were, like I said, downstairs, outside, whatever, or in our rooms. Whereas my daughter, if she's awake, she's with me.
Yeah.
If I'm in the kitchen, she's in the kitchen. If
Yeah.
I'm in the living room, she's in the living room. Like,
yeah.
she wants to be glued to me.
Yeah.
I don't remember being like that.
No. And like I struggle with like, and obviously mom guilt is super real. Like I struggle with being like, I'm busy right now, like I can't play with you, and like I try to word it in the best way possible, but like I haven't seen my kids all day. I just picked my son up from school, my daughter up from daycare. I'm home now. I have to prep dinner instead of play with them, which I try to meal prep. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But like I still have to put dinner together, and she's like, Mama, play with me, and I'm like, and now I'm trying to just confidently, because they sense weakness. Like I'm trying to be as confident as I can to be like, I can't wait to play with you in 10 minutes. Like, what do you want to do in your room when I'm done? You know? So it's just like, it's the constant struggle.
And then you see it in them, right? Like yesterday I tried to ask Peyton to do something. She was like, not now, I'm busy, I'm working. I was like, oh,
all right.
She gets that from me.
Yeah, exactly. See? And like, that's teaching them to be able to be like, no, I'm busy right now. Like,
Yep.
which is amazing.
Well, I had a moment with Peyton recently that made me both infuriated and immensely proud, where she had punched me in the face, like
God, yeah.
full on clocked me.
Oh, yeah.
And I raised my voice, like, no, you cannot hit Mommy. And she went, Mommy, take a deep breath.
Oh my God.
Because clearly she has absorbed the conflict resolution
Yeah.
skills that I've been teaching her.
That's just like, you know, proof in the moment that what you're doing is like, and like, I always kind of hope for that. Like, I'm like, is this even, I know in my soul that it, like, I know when something feels right, and I know that this is like the right approach.
Yeah.
You know, but it's nice to have that confirmation to be like, okay, they're learning. And I have moments like that a lot too.
Yeah, it's really nice. So I also want to talk about sort of reinventing yourself, because you've done that so many times,
Yeah.
which I love and respect immensely. So recently you decided to become a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
What inspired that decision?
It was like kind of just happened. It was not a plan, which I almost have like, I have guilt over everything, as many of us do, but like I feel guilty. Like it happened for me and it was not planned, or like, and it was so unexpected. So before I had my kids, so in my younger years, as you know, obviously, I never was like career driven. You know, I knew like I took hairdressing when I was younger. I knew I wanted to do something creative. But like I was really concentrated in my teens and like early 20s in like kind of just partying and like being free, and like I was in a band, as you know, and like, you know, for a few years, and just like basically like, and now I look back on it, like self-medicating also, like partying and like doing that in those, and like during that time. So I ended up in the restaurant industry, as many like artistic people do. And I worked, before I had my kids, I was working at Nick. Shout out to Chez Nick in Westmount. It's amazing.
Best Reuben in the world,
Best
I will
Reuben.
say.
Yeah, so many good things. I worked there for 10 years, and like I knew that wasn't sustainable after I had my kids. And then like right before I got pregnant with my son, with my first, I had started going to 30 Minute Hit, another shout out. Best place. It's here in Chattagee. All women's kickboxing, self-defense gym. And it's amazing. I started there in 2018, and then right away I got pregnant with my son. But I continued. I'm still working there part-time, and like off and on throughout the years. And I needed something that I could do, you know, after I had the kids. And at that gym, like in walks this purple-haired, tattooed, amazing woman one day. I was at a really hard time in my life at the time, struggling with like COVID had just happened. You know, there's a lot to that. I'll have to go into that, I guess, another time. But right away, I was like, "Hello, like, who are you?" Like right away, like instant attraction to her, like platonically, obviously, but like, you're English, you live in Chattagee, you're full of tattoos. Why don't I know you? Like, you know, that mean girl moment. Like, why don't I know you? Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm a tattoo artist. We started chatting. We hit it off. We became friends. And then during that, like, one hangout, it was my birthday, and we went to the spa. And just in the car ride, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. It was like my son was starting pre-K. My daughter was starting daycare. And then I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how can I be a mom and work? I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was like, have you ever thought of apprenticing someone? And she's like, well, yeah. She was an art teacher for 12 years, high school. And so she has like all this like teaching background, and like she's an amazing teacher. And she's like, that's the only thing missing from my career. Mind you, she had only been at it for like 3 years at the time, like between 3 and 4 years, I think. So she was like, I don't have like, you know, that much experience in order to like to mentor someone. And like if you to do a tattoo apprenticeship, generally it's like someone that's been in the industry for like 10 to 20 years. So, but she was like, listen, just come to my house. She's like, I'll set you up with a machine. Let's do some fake skins. Let's see what you can do. And I had told her that I was an artistic person. I've always been like, you know, if there was a project at school, like I would do the murals. I would do like the writing, any kind of like, you know, but I never could like channel it. Like I never knew how to channel it.
Yep.
So I pulled a few lines like on the fake skin, and she was like, okay, yeah, like you have to do this. So I set myself up. Like I was in a position at the time I was very, very lucky. Like literally everything aligned. Like the universe works in mysterious ways. I was able to buy myself a good machine. I didn't buy like a crappy Amazon machine. Like she told me, get this book, watch these YouTube videos, like told me everything to do. And she was like, let's see. And I was like, dove right in. So at a certain point, a couple of months later, she's like, build your portfolio. But at a certain point, she was like, okay, I see that you're really invested. I want you to do a full apprenticeship. Let me speak to my bosses. I was like, just get me in a room with them. Like, and she's like, oh, they're not taking on an apprentice right now. Like, you know, it was very like not a good time. The market is super saturated with tattoo artists. So they were kind of like, no, like, you know. Yeah. And I was like, just get me in a room with them. Like, let me talk to them, you know, like. And so I was like, let me come get tattoos. So I got my boxer girl, shout out to the hit again. It's so defining for me. And I was like, that's a really like important part of my journey. And so I went to get the tattoo, and Robyn was there that day. Another Robyn, my boss. And we had a conversation, and then they agreed to have him and his wife, Mary, also co-owner of the shop, agreed to sit down with me. And they saw my fake skins, and I just poured my heart out like I always do, just kind of telling them how badly I wanted it. And I didn't know I wanted it, but I do now, and they agreed to take me on.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people try to behave like men in business, and I think there's something really beautiful about that feminine quality of like leading with your heart first. Oh yeah. And like, okay, if I may talk about Taylor Swift, because I'm always looking for excuses to talk about Taylor Swift. So she was on the New Heights podcast recently, and she was talking about how she was trying to get her master's back. And most people in that situation would send in lawyers and business managers. And for the negotiations, she sent her mom and her brother. Aww. Because she leads with her heart. She was like, for me, it's not a business decision. It's not about the investment or the return on invest. Like, she's like, for me, it's about owning my work and what I put my heart and soul into. And no one understands that better than my mom and my brother.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it worked. Like, she got her master's back, right?
Exactly.
So I think that there's value in that, and I think that what is professional is changing. Like, what we thought was professional was acting like a middle-aged white man.
Yeah.
And that's not the case, especially if you're a mom.
No,
like,
like,
life is different.
Just let's keep it raw and, like, real. And, like, what's most important to me in life is authenticity. Mm-hmm. Like, I never want to be, like, come across as like fake, or you know, like I try to just stay true to myself, and I'm learning that more and more, especially over the past couple of years. And I always say, like, I feel like I'm a heart walking around. Like I just feel like I'm like all heart, and like I wear it on my sleeve, and I just like. But
that's what makes you such a beautiful person, is like you know what you're getting with you. You know, which I think is important.
Yeah, because there's a lot of bullshit out there.
Yeah, there is. And like, one thing I also really admire about you is that you're really open about everything you've been through. And if we may, I would love to talk a little bit about your sober journey, because you know, both of us are sober. It's becoming more and more common. I would say like most people I know are coming to me being like, I don't like drinking anymore. Like, I'm like, so stop.
It makes no sense.
Like, you don't have to.
No, and like, it's a release, and it can be super fun, and like, I've had amazing nights, like, don't get me wrong.
100%.
Like, you know, so many stories.
But I've also fallen asleep on park benches.
Yeah, like, and it becomes more, like, less and less cute as you get older. Those funny stories aren't funny anymore, you know?
Nope.
So for me, it's a really long story, which I would love to get into, like, in depth, maybe in another episode, if you'll have me. But so in you know, the short version, I've always struggled with anxiety. and depression, like since I was a kid. I didn't know what it was like when I was a kid, like many of us, but it manifested as like sore tummies before school, and like I couldn't make phone calls, like to, you know, like even as a teenager, like I'd be terrified. So I was just always this like little ball of anxiety, and it stuck with me, which again, like, you know, partying in my like teen years and early 20s, like that was like totally self-medicating for that, but it would make it worse. And then finally, after I had my kids, I for sure had postpartum depression after my son. I didn't realize it at the time, and my daughter, like for sure. I remember sitting in the playroom with them in my basement, and like my daughter was a baby, like laying on her back on the ground. My son was a toddler, like 2 years old, and they were trying to play. Like I was trying to just like be in the moment and play with them, and I couldn't. I was just like in tears for no reason, and I was like, this isn't okay. And miraculously, I think it was that day. Like I'm like 99% sure it was that day. I got a call. I had been on like a waiting list for family doctor, as like all of us are. Yep. And they called me. They're like, "Oh, we found a doctor for you. We're gonna book your first appointment." So I went to my first appointment with my family doctor, and she was like, "Before we get started, like, is there anything that you want to like mention or talk about?" And I started bawling. I broke down. I was like, I can't like be a mom. I can't function. And she was like, "Okay, well, let me know if you ever like want to start taking medication," which another one of my doctors had said to me like 5 years before that. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm managing. I exercise, blah blah blah." This time I was like, write me a prescription. I can't function. I can't be the mom I want to be. So she wrote me a prescription, and I started to take it. And I remember writing you, because you're the only other, well, one of the people that I know who is really open about your mental health, you know, and all that.
Yeah, I've been on SSRIs for like 10 years.
Yeah.
It saved my life.
Yeah, so I wrote you being like, what can I expect? I'm scared. Like, how did you feel? Is it working for you? And you like calmed me down, and I would like check in with you. I'm like, I'm having hot flashes, but like I think that's gonna go away and whatever. And then like a few weeks in, I was like, fuck yeah, like I feel amazing. This is amazing. And like every like anxiety I've ever had went away. Like I had like little OCD tendencies, like a lot of people like with anxiety have. Like if the table's crooked, I would like need to fix it, and I'm like that now. Like, but with that, I didn't care about anything. And when I say I didn't care about anything, I didn't care about anything. So I remember saying to my sister, she knows me better than anyone, I was like, I have too much energy. Like, I have an excess of energy. Like, and I was like, I don't know if that's normal. She goes, well, mention it to your doctor. So I had like a follow-up appointment, like 6 weeks or whatever after started taking it. And I said, j'ai un excès d'énergie. And she's like, oh, well, you're not anxious anymore, so it makes sense, you know? And I was like, okay, cool. And like, I remember in that appointment, I was like, I'm going to a concert with my friend. It was things had just opened up. It was like April 2021, or right. No, April, yeah,
21, 22. Yeah.
And like everything had just reopened, and I was going to a Mariana's Trench concert with my bestie, and I was so excited because we go to see them every time they were like in Montreal, basically. And I was like, can I have like a beer? And she was like on these meds, and she was like, yeah, you can have a few, but like don't go crazy. Don't drink 12. I was like, oh, no problem. Green light. Went out, had an amazing time, drank, wasn't hungover the next day. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, whew, like, and then it got out of control, you know, and I came to realize after that what I was experiencing was like hypomania. Yeah. So.
Which they don't tell you can be a side effect. Like.
That's why I wanted to talk about it today.
Because I consider myself so lucky, because most people I know who have had to take some sort of anti-anxiety or antidepressant have had to try multiple medications to find the right one for them.
I felt so lucky.
And like the first one I took worked for me, and I was like, cool, like this is it.
Yeah,
like,
amazing.
But then I discovered that like some people can have really severe side effects. For some people it just doesn't work at all. Some people it makes things worse. Like they are life-saving medications when you find the right one and the right dose and the right everything, but it doesn't always happen on the first try.
No.
And you have to really be on them for an extended period of time to know if it's working.
Yeah. And like I know myself so well. So now looking back, like I'm so self-aware, and looking back I'm like, I just felt amazing. And a lot of people who experience hypomania or full-blown mania like don't want help, because you're like, basically, it's like you're on amphetamines.
Yeah, you feel amazing. I remember at the time hanging out with you, and you were like talking talking about making crazy life
Yeah.
decisions, and
Yeah.
you know, you want to be supportive of your family, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you do you, I guess. But
and I was just like, this is the first day of the rest of my life. Like, oh my God. And like, I looked and functioned normally. So it wasn't, that's why it's hypomania, right? So it's not full blown. So it's called antidepressant induced hypomania.
wow.
Which I didn't know was a thing. And actually my sister, like on Reddit, like figured it out. My doctor didn't even figure it out, even after I told her that I was experiencing those symptoms. And I was mad.
Yeah.
And it was like a full year. And my life got turned upside down, which again, I could talk for hours, but I was like, you know, the symptoms are like being impulsive. I was going out at like, okay, on the weekends, but like I've always been a social person, but like it was over the top social. Like if I saw someone at the grocery store that I knew, I'd go out of my way to like talk to them and say hi, which is no one does that.
Just like the opposite of what everybody does.
Opposite. Yeah.
Don't look at me.
Like I was just so like, oh, I felt so good. And I was going around telling everyone like it changed my life. Oh my God, not realizing like.
And there is a normal element of having more energy when you are on a medication that
Of
works.
course.
Like, because having anxiety and depression is exhausting.
Yeah.
So, you know, I remember when I started it, the first 6 weeks were awful. I was still depressed, I was still anxious, and I had gut issues, headaches, dry mouth, which never went away. That is something I still deal with.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the other stuff eventually
Yeah.
went away, but the first 6 weeks suck. Like, you still feel horrible.
That's why I was like, buckle down. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know?
But like, I feel like they could do a better job, they being like the doctors, of warning you what to expect.
Yeah, no one told me. And even, like I said, after approaching her with symptoms, being like, I don't feel like so normal. And then like almost a year later when my sister was like, okay, so back to the sober, like my drinking kind of got out of control because I wasn't hungover. I'd wake up, take my med, and then be like, I feel fucking great, you know?
Jealous.
Yeah, and I was like, I found a cure for like a hangover. Like I was just on overdrive. It was basically, like I said, being on amphetamine. So of course I'm not going to feel my hangover. So
It's interesting because I was reading something recently about hangovers because they get worse as you get older, right? And I read that it's basically a collective poisoning, that you've been poisoning yourself over time and it gets worse and worse and worse.
Makes
So that's why
sense.
when you're 19, 20, you can drink all night and have no hangover because you're new at drinking.
Yeah.
But by the time you're 40, you have poisoned yourself
Yeah.
for 20 plus years.
Makes sense.
Ooh.
And like you're also older and like, you know, can't come back easily. But for me, I always did have really bad hangovers. Like everything that you can feel, I feel intensely. Like and I'm really sensitive to medication. Also, like if I take like Robaxacet or something, like I'll get high.
Wow.
Yeah, like I remember like popping one and driving to work. Like at the time I was living in Two Mountains, driving to West Mountain, I was like, oh my God, like I'm feeling a little loopy on the 13, like super scary.
Those medications say don't operate heavy machinery. They mean don't drive.
Literally.
But I always think like don't
Like,
operate a forklift.
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm
That's
good.
not an issue. Yeah. So yeah, which led my sister one day to be like, okay, you're not acting like yourself. I was being like really impulsive, you know, and just like promiscuity, and like I want to write a tell-all one day. And I've been looking, like I'm like I need to tell people that this can happen. So I like literally I was like, do I write a book? And that's why I'm like I want to be on your show. I want to talk about this because if it can help someone. Like, if you start taking a medication, of course, hypomanic and, like, manic episodes can happen naturally.
Of course.
But if you start taking a medication and then you feel like Superwoman, it's probably not normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
And also, the alcohol, like saying you can have one or two is
Yeah.
dangerous. Because
Yeah.
you really shouldn't drink at all.
No.
Which wasn't also made very clear
for
to
me, like, a switch went off in my head when she said that. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to. And then, like, I would go out on the weekends. My kid, like, only when my kids were, I was still, like, functioning as a mom. And, like, that's why I looked fine. But I couldn't wait to get out and party and socialize. And I was a cooped up mom during COVID. So it makes sense. It kind of, like, made sense that I was like, I'm just living my best life now. But no, it was dangerous.
And getting sober in general is hard. I think a lot of people think it's just not drinking. But if you don't address the root cause of why you're drinking in the first place, it's not going to last, or you're going to replace it with a different vice. Or like, I know I go to meetings, like I work the program, and I see people all the time who are like, oh, I don't drink, but, you know, I smoke weed 8 times a day. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you're not dealing with your actual issue. And that's the part that sucks about sobriety is I tell people I always have to feel all my feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the worst.
There isn't that, like, one thing. And, like, I always say, I wish I could smoke weed. I wish I could just, like, have a couple tokes at the end of the day and, like, unwind. But no, like, I cannot take any substances. I've learned that about myself. I've tried microdosing mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I even got like, I swear I got high, and I didn't think it was possible, but I got high from like microdosing. It was like higher end of the microdose, but I can't take them. They make me feel awful. Like I just can't take anything. So,
which is fine.
Yeah.
I think there's like this weird pressure in society to like unwind, and you have to, what do you do to unwind? And it's like, I like to watch documentaries. And eat half a bag of potato chips. That's my,
literally.
That's my glass of wine at the end of the day.
But I think like you and I, like we're creative people, like I want a life that I don't have to, like we always, like the quote, like create a life that you don't need a vacation from, which of course motherhood is fucking hard. Life is hard, like, and we all need a vacation and stuff, but no, I refuse to. I'm really trying to build that life for myself, and at almost 40 years old. So
it's really cool and it's inspiring, and like you can do hard things. Like I think a lot
like
of
we
people
tell our kids.
But we ask kids, this is something I'm trying hard not to do with my own kid, is like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because I don't want her to dream of laboring. Like maybe this is like the left wing, person in me, but I want her to be happy, and I don't want her to think about what she wants to be. And it also just doesn't matter. Like when I was 4, I wanted to be a waitress, and then I wanted to be a cashier, and then I wanted to be a marine biologist, like every millennial. Like it doesn't matter. You're gonna do what you're gonna do, and you'll figure it out later.
And like our kids are watching us do it. Like I bring them to the gym with me, like, and they see me work out, and they know I work there, and like, I love coming home and like showing my kids the tattoo I did that day, and they're like, whoa, and like, I'm making like not enough yet because I'm still pretty new. Like I'm almost 2 years in, but like it has potential to be like a really just, a great career. And like we're showing them that like you can do everything. You don't need to be in an office. Like you don't need to have that like, cookie cutter job that we all thought we had to do back in the day.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, if you could give, 20-year-old Mel a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my God. Just be yourself. Stop trying to stop caring about it's. You know what? I'm giving myself this advice right now also, and just like think about yourself. Stop trying to make everyone else happy, and prove yourself, and like you're worthy of love, just as you are. You don't need to work for it, and just be yourself and be authentic and be true to yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
If you like what you heard today, make sure you follow and subscribe to Rebel Mom Boss with Robyn Flynn wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, and make sure to leave a review, because that's how other moms will find the podcast too. Until next week.